4 of this game. Long ball, pick it at the back. Petracca. Oh, wow. How good is that? Seconds left. Little one from Viney. Surely not another one. Handball to Oliver. Streaming through. Bang! Bang, bang, bang!
Every heart is beating true and blue for the red and blue. After 57 long years, the Demons are premiers in 2021. Extraordinary stuff. And McDonald kicks the goal. Delirious fans and players. Melbourne have won. It's a grand old fang.
The D's have finally broken the deadlock. The 57-year premiership drought, the longest in the current AFL system, is over on the back of a 74-point annihilation of the Dogs, which if you told me would happen 2 days ago, I would have told you you're on steroids. So It happened. These are premiers, believe it or not. 57 years down the drain, Liam.
Yeah, boy, oh boy, I would not have expected to be making this grand final review on the back of a 74-point thrashing of the Doggies, but the game was a tale of 4 quarters, really. The D's, they started off very strong, led by 21 at quarter time. Dogs fought back in the second, kicking 6 goals to 1 to lead by 8, and then the second half, it was all D's. It was all red and blue. They kicked 16 goals to 3 and kicked 12 in a row, I believe. And the last 15 of the last 16 goals in the match. So it was absolutely a thrashing. And it all started off the back of that 7-goal blitz. They kicked about 7 goals in about 10 minutes or so, and 3 in the last minute and a half, I think, of the third quarter. So it was just, they just went bang, 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 bang all of a sudden, and they got about 3 center clearances in a row, and all came from goals. And
Petracca, Oliver.
Yeah, it was just
a classy display.
It was, and they outscored the Dogs 100-7 since the 16th minute mark of the third quarter, kicking 16 goals 4 to 1-1. It was not pretty at all for the Western Bulldogs, and it's one that's going to haunt them for a very long time. One that, in my eyes, they probably should have won with that amount of control they had, up by 19 midway through the third. I feel like they had the flag, hanging back up at the Whitten Oval, but the D's just said no, we want to break this 57-year drought, and they did it quite comfortably. So, yeah, well done to the D's, and we will get onto the performers of, the star players, of who stepped up, who didn't quite really. But we'll start off with the Western Bulldogs. The Bont, he did his usual self. He had the 3 goals, the 25 touches, 6 tackles. He just had a big impact.
He did
in the first half. That second quarter, I believe he kicked all 3 in the second, or 2 of his 3 in the second. I think
something like that.
He just did what he did. He was going to win the Norm Smith if the Doggies had gone over the line for me, but in the second half, he kind of just faded away like the whole team did. He didn't really have that much of an impact, and that's pretty much where they dropped off in my eyes. He kind of, I think they were just relying on him to step up, and I don't think he really stepped up when he should have. When they were getting absolutely pummeled in the last 15 minutes, the whole team kind of just gave in. So
he was jogging around the ground a little bit.
Yeah, he looked very tired. So yeah.
Another man, the smallest man on the ground, Caleb Daniel, had 27 touches in only the first half. And we were thinking this is going to be a monster performance. However, he only registered the 10 in the second half. And he finished with 26 kicks and 6 marks. So you could argue that his stats are a little bit dodgy, given he does the kick-ins, runs up and receives the handball to kick it again. However, his impact in the first half was elite. He just died in the second half, as did the whole team. Treloar had 27 and 3 goals. And it's sad to see him lose another one after all he went through with Collingwood, isn't it? Obviously, he played in the 2018 the 2018 loss to West Coast. 2019 lost the prelim, missed most of last year football-wise, and then got said bye-bye by Collingwood, which he claimed to love. Went to the Dogs, and here he is losing another one. So pretty sad story. Moving on to the downside, Cody Waitman. He was extraordinarily quiet for what he, I guess, should have been, what we anticipated him to be. He only had the 7 touches to his name. That's not the performance you want to be looking for.
No, definitely not. I had him as my first goal scorer, and he didn't even kick one at all. So whether it's the big stage got to him or it was the D's best defense, I don't know. But I expected him to kick at least a couple. But very, very quiet in terms of his standards. So we will go over to the premiers now. We'll touch on the D's. Would you like to start us off with the list we had?
Clayton Oliver was his usual self. I wouldn't say he was best on ground worthy in a sense, but he was elite like he normally is through every single game. Take us through his stats.
So Oliver had the 33 touches, the 1 goal, the 10 tackles, 138 fantasy points. So he was as usual stuff, an absolute star. As well as Petracca and other names. We'll get touch on him a bit later, but he was just his usual self. He did what he did. So he touches a goal, laid his 10 tackles, and he was just elite as we all anticipated him to be. So very good performance from him.
Now, Christian Salem, another little man, along with Caleb Daniel, but his impact was felt a lot more than Caleb Daniel. He was incredible, and
he was
again alongside Caleb Daniel. He doesn't miss targets. And he didn't last night. So take us through his stats as well in what was a 2-way performance.
Yeah, so he had the 27 touches, the 1 goal he snuck up in the last quarter, and he kicked one through. The 133 fantasy, 7 marks, 7 tackles. He just did everything. He did his usual self. He, every time the Dogs managed to get a scrap kick out, he was always there taking the intercept mark, and he was always bombing it back in. And he's just did what he did every week. This year, he was just very consistent, never missed the target as he just touched on, and he was just elite again last night. He just did everything that the D's could have asked from him.
Now, your Brownlow Smoky, Jack Viney was, I wouldn't say quiet. He probably wasn't noticed as much as the stats show, but he had a very good quiet game, if that makes any sense at all.
Just on Salem, I should say 27 touches at 96% efficiency. So that just shows how elite he is. Now, Viney, he did a lot of the little stuff last night. He had the 25 touches, the 6 tackles at 25 touches at 72. He's been very underrated for most of his career. He had the 12 clearances last night, and he was just elite. I had him as a non-Swiss Smoky if I was a Petracca, I didn't win it, but he just did the little stuff. He always came in and chipped in with that kick. He did that 1 tackle that they needed, and his post-game interview, he said that his first game he lost by 80, second game they lost by 150, and the club was getting scarves and all this being thrown at them, and the laughing stock of the competition. Here they are 8 years later, they're premiers. So that just shows how far this club has come from, at the absolute bottom of the bottom, all the way up to the top. So, yeah, he stuck with them true. He's been there through the tough times, and he got what he deserved. He got the whole club deserved in the end.
Brayshaw, another littleish man with a monster performance from, I wouldn't say his standards, but his perspective.
Yeah. He had the 25 touches, kicked a goal, 5 marks. 11 of those 25 were contested. Went up to 60%, but he has been very good for them this year. He has definitely improved over the last few years. He is 10-2. He's among the best coming up through the league. His goal, he went back with the fly to a good mark, and he just does all the little things too. He had the 3 clearances, 95 fantasy, 6 1%ers. So as I said, he does a lot of the little stuff that got the D's home in the end. So another great performance from Gus Brayshaw.
Now on to someone that was fairly close to best on ground, which we'll explain in a minute. Bailey Fritsch, he kicked the most goals in a grand final in the last 25 or 26 years, something like that. He was elite. The 6 goals too.
Yeah. He equaled the record, I think, with Darren Jarman. They kicked with Adelaide back in 97 or 98. Can't remember which one, but
was that 23 years ago, roughly?
Yeah. So most goals ever in the since 2000. Some people couldn't believe that he kicked 6. I couldn't believe he kicked 6, to be honest. I thought he had kicked 4 at max until they also showed the end. When he was lining up for his 6th, he said he had kicked 5 goals too. And I was just like, Bailey Fritsch, he just showed that he is going to be a star forward. He's not the tallest man. He's only 188 centimeters, but he's turning into a great forward coming through. He's going to be a big part of Melbourne coming through, whether they win another couple of flags or 2. He's going to be the deciding factor. Him, Ben Brown, Tom McDonald, those key forwards, you could say, in a way. But he just showed that he was elite, as he has been all year. He kicks, I think, 58 goals or something this year. I think in total, 59. So he's absolutely elite, and he showed it again last night.
Now, while you just touched on Benny Brown, we'll move on to him next. He had the 3 goals too, and he just contested everything. He was always there, which is exactly what they brought him into the side for. Someone down forward to just crash the pack, stop the opposition taking easy marks, and really bring it to ground for the small forwards, which he did. And we know that Cozzy Pickett was probably a little bit quiet.
He was.
But it's players like Fritsch and stuff that are always there. What was the start? I think it was Luke Jackson who kicked a few goals this year, and his only goal that wasn't a set shot came off Ben Brown's missed mark that was sort of a little pad down. So you can't underestimate Ben Brown from his performance. He played very, very well.
For sure.
Credit's got to be given where credit's due, and he finished wooden spoon last year. Almost wooden spoon, and then he came up and won a premiership.
You
can't script it.
He came across from North Melbourne. Everyone criticised him, saying that he's been injury prone the last few years. What are you doing? But he just proved all the critics wrong. He came in, did his job, did his role, and that's why he's now a premiership player. As he kicked the 3 goals, contested marks galore. He took about 2 or 3 from the back of the pack, and he just did the lot. He's been a big key for Melbourne this year, and that's again another reason why they are the premiers.
100%. Now, Maxi Gawn was probably a little bit quiet to what he was against Geelong, at least, but he still had a great game. Him and Jackson as the 1-2 punch in that ruck, the Dogs really didn't stand much of a chance.
No.
And you look at the hitouts, and it was 47 to, what's that, 28? No, 47 to 30. I think the D's obviously won the midfield battle. We know that.
Yeah.
The Dogs contested in the ruck, but Gawn and Jackson they took their game to another level working together last night.
Sure.
I was, very happy with Gawn's game, at least. He had the 21 touches, the 5 marks, the 30 hitouts. And then Jackson had the goal to his name as well, as we touched on. The 13 touches, the 3 marks, the 16 hitouts. It was, as I said, just an elite 1-2 punch.
Yeah, for sure. Those two have been absolutely superb. When Gawn's haven't been on his day, Jackson's always been there to help out. And Jackson coming over from basketball, he's been absolutely amazing. And he showed again last night. He stunk up for the goal and late, and he
WA product himself.
Yeah, for sure. He was absolutely amazing. And it's just not much else to say, but he's an absolute superstar.
Now we'll jump into the final top 3 of the Norm Smith from the voters. Now Clayton Oliver, which we already touched on, had the 3 votes to his name. So I believe he polled a 1, 1, and a 1 from 3 different individuals. Fritsch had 10 votes. Perfect 2 from all 5 judges. And then Christian Petracca. Boy, oh boy. I said it on the last podcast. He is going to win the Norm Smith, and he did.
Yeah.
And I said he is built for the big stage, and he was.
He is.
The perfect 3.
Where do I even start with this man's stats? Here we go. We've got the 39 touches, the 2 goals, 139 fantasy. He had the 9 clearance, 896 meters gained, 15 score involvements. He is absurd. There's nothing else to say, but he was, as he said, he's built for the big time, and he did everything and more for the Demons. He had, I think, the equal most disposals ever in a grand final. He did have 40, but
playing with Simon Black.
Yeah, and then some bloke robbed him of his 40th. But still, it's just 39 touches. You just don't do that every day. To pull it out on a grand final, especially, is just ridiculous. And if he didn't get the Norm Smith, something was terribly wrong with the judges. But he was the unanimous bloody Norm Smith medalist. You couldn't give it to anyone else if you wanted to. 21 kicks, 18 handballs, ridiculous dribble goal. We all saw.
Even his first goal, I could argue, was almost better. One step from 50. Not the easiest angle. He was sort of in line with the wing on the 50. It's just a monster performance. And now we can ask, who's Dusty? Never heard of him. The crowd was crazy good. It was great to see that again. We haven't seen a crowd like that since the Dream time, I'm going to say. It's just a pity that it was 2 Melbourne teams again. Like last year, both would have absolutely packed out the G.
Easy.
But max crowd, only a couple hundred missing. And how good was it to see Neil Danaher get a premiership before? It was. It's a great sight to see.
It was. It definitely brought a tear to every grown man's eye. He definitely. He's come from, he's coached them in through the 2000s, through the very tough era. It was just great to see them finally win one for him. He definitely deserved to see one. If there was anyone in this world, he definitely deserved to see one. And to see his post that he posted, to see the big smile on his face, and just, the D's to get it done for an absolute legend of the club, an absolute legend of Australia. it was great to see that they finally got one, and yeah, it's just brought a tear to every grown man's eye for sure.
There's so many great stories behind this D's premiership. You look at Barassi from way back. Gets to see another one. Obviously, Gary Lyon, one of the all-time greats, gets to see one and give him the Premiership Cup. There's just stories left, right, and centre.
And that's where they've come from. They were in the laughing stock of the competition 10 years ago. Fans could be 56 years old and haven't seen a Melbourne Premiership, or now they have. Everyone was just like, who wants to support Melbourne? Who in their right mind would want to keep supporting the D's? But
yeah, exactly.
All the fans,
they had the towels thrown at them, walking down the races, cans, bottles, whatever they get their hands on, just thrown at the players. And
2013 was definitely the worst year they had. They were losing every game left, right, by 70, 80 points, week in, week out. And to see him at the top of the mountain now is just great to see.
As Viney said in his post-match interview when they were doing the lap around the oval, he said, trying to remember the exact quote, but it was something like, in the first game I played, we lost by 70. In the second, we lost by double that. It was like, he said 150, which is basically double that. And now we're premiers.
Yeah, it's just showing how much he stuck with them. How many times easily, the likes of Nathan Jones, Jack Viney could have just said, I'm done with this club. I want to leave.
Even Gordon, he's been there for 10 years.
Yeah. He just said, he could have said, I don't want to be here. This club's absolutely terrible. We're not getting anywhere. But, to stick through the hard times. It's taken a couple of years. 2018, they made finals, and then 2019, they slumped back to second last on the ladder, and everyone was just like, oh, it's a one-off. They missed out last year by a game. 2017, I believe they missed out by 0.5%. And it's been very stiff, but it's taken a long time. But they finally got their reward, and it's great to see.
They're going to be a powerhouse in the next few years.
For sure.
Obviously, Gordon's 30 now, or 29, turning 30. So he's got a couple good years left on him still. Ruckman tend to age fairly well in today's game. Obviously, Petracca and Oliver are only 24 and 25. Actually, Oliver might even be 23 off the top of my head, but the list just goes on. They have such a good core to keep going around. And look, as a football supporter, I'm excited for the D's list. They have a really fun team to watch. And a great chance of running it back in the years to come. And even on the Bulldogs side, they do too. Bond's still got lots of good years ahead of him. McRae's, there you go.
Bruce, Norton, Waitman.
There's still a red hot chance next year even. So look, a lot to like, especially from a D's fan. There's nothing to hate from a D's fan. And it was really a great game until, as we said, the 16-minute mark of the third. And look, it was, as a football fan, it was a ripping contest to watch.
It was.
Obviously not as a Dogs fan, but I wasn't fussed with who wins. Wasn't really going for a team. I was sort of going for a good game, to be honest. But look, it's great to see the D's get there after 57 years of heartache and pain.
Yeah, for sure.
In a little bit of other news, the trade period is about a week away. I believe it starts on the first week of October, which is next week. And Chera has officially nominated Carlton, which is no surprise. Just official now. So stay tuned for all the news around the trades, and particular Adam Chera being probably the biggest name on the trade block at the moment. So make sure you subscribe and don't miss a video about that. Any last comments or thoughts about the grand final, or
no, that's all for me. I think I've let my thoughts on the game will go, and looking forward to next year and see if the D's can run it back. Pretty interesting one.
So all sweet, all done on the football game side of things for the next 6 months, which is quite painful to say. But we'll be back bigger than ever. Stick with us over the off season. Thank you all for watching, and we'll catch you in the next video.
So yeah.